Hey guys, we're live. We got Olivia James with us. It's going to be an amazing show. So I'm going to hit the intro. And I just put up the subscribe button to you guys. Like it's really important, but it's actually working because the more I put up the subscribe button, I tell you to hit the notification and hit the thumbs up. So like the video on here, like the video on Rumble, because I'm getting subscribers back. We're up to almost 5,000 on Rumble and back to 4,000 on YouTube. So thank you for subscribing, and yeah, keep doing that. And I'm really excited about my guest today. It's always amazing every time she comes on the show. I have with me the author of Gray Mouse and then Gray Mouse Purgatory, Olivia James. She's a fearless SSP whistleblower, MILAB survivor, and experiencer who spent time on Mars and returned to expose the hidden truth. She's the author of Gray Mouse, Sex, Space, and Mind Control, and then the follow-up Gray Mouse Purgatory, a raw and unflinching account of trauma-based mind control, interdimensional trafficking, and the shadow world of Black Ops projects. Olivia was the first to expose Project Oblivion, a covert infiltration program designed to undermine the disclosure community by targeting influencers, experiencers, and truth seekers with psychological operations, manipulation, and targeting. In this episode, Olivia brings new updates on Project Oblivion, shining light on how these infiltration tactics are evolving and what it means for the future of the disclosure movement. The topics we'll cover in this episode are updates on Project Oblivion, the psychological warfare behind SSP infiltration, how the disclosure community is being targeted, Olivia's ongoing experiences as a Mars survivor and MILAB whistleblower, and the importance of discernment, resilience, and truth for the battle of disclosure. And you can get her book on Amazon. It's Gray Mouse, Sex, Space, and Mind Control. And she's on Twitter at Olivia James. And then I also put her Substack. You guys she has an amazing Substack. You guys should join it for sure, and follow her on there. And with all that said, I'd like to give her a big warm welcome back to the show. Olivia, thanks so much for coming back on. How are you?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Like, so what's going on with Project Oblivion? Like, what were you able to find out?
I'm able to find out that it's real, and I'm feeling the effects of it times a lot right now. I'm feeling very targeted at this point, and I'm trying to keep myself focused to know that, I got to get past this somehow. I was going to talk a little bit. I discovered Project Oblivion working pretty closely with Misha Johnston, who I consider one of my mentors. We've worked a lot together doing remote viewing, looking for information like this. And I allow myself to be used as kind of like a vessel in order to let this information come through from other people and being able to infiltrate other agencies to get this information. It's a huge risk, but we needed this information instead of us, always feeling like our lives are just, just terrible and always has anybody ever had that feeling like you just can't catch a break? Like literally everything in your life, every
Olivia,
single
exactly the same
aspect of your
thing.
life is being attacked. And
Yeah,
it's not normal because there's
yeah.
other people that live the same way as us and they don't have literally every day something happening or every week. It's just, to me, it's just way more out of the ordinary, and I'm seeing it more and more, and I'm experiencing it. So when I first found out about it, it just made so much sense. And it wasn't an easy find. It was a battle with someone. You really have to, when we encounter people from the handler division, it really is a battle. You're arguing, and they're cussing and arguing with us and fighting with us and saying, they're degrading us, calling us names, and, calling us weak and pathetic. And it takes a lot to be able to speak to these people. And Misha has done it pretty well. She'll ask questions, she'll try to get, well, why are you doing this? What are you doing now? And they laugh a lot at us. They make a joke of us, they make fun of us. So I mean, it really is something that they think that there is nothing that we can do against it. And I'm experiencing the fact that a lot more it's a lot stronger than what I thought in terms of how they can target you without it looking like them. And everybody needs to know, if you're experiencing something like this, you're not crazy. This is a real targeting program that they're trying to stop us from learning about ourselves, getting closer to our memories, just making it and trying to live a normal life while we're trying to get this information to people. They don't want that. They know the more targeting they can, do, the more you'll step back, the less you'll be focused on this, the less you'll be talking about it. If you were being targeted in any way, and it doesn't even matter what aspect of your life, all the different aspects, and everybody experiences it differently. If you haven't experienced it, if somebody is an experiencer and hasn't experienced Project Oblivion, then I'm happy for them. I'm glad that they don't experience it in their life. But there's a lot of us that are, and I don't know why. Some are getting it worse than others. I only know from what they have told me. So what they're recently, it's just the recent information I got is that they're coming even harder. And that's what they said. They
Oh,
said
listen to this,
they
Olivia.
have to.
I told you, like, during I was in Florida, my audio podcast got monetized. Well, not yesterday, but the day before, I found out now, I don't know if this is connected, but like, I hope it's not, because if it is connected, I want to kill them. And I'm not even playing, because like, I found out my mom has skin cancer on her back, which, okay, but it's stage 0. Okay. So they're going to cut it out. And, like, but still, if they're going that low to where they're affecting family members, which I don't put it past them, but I'm hoping it's
Yes.
not connected, like, I don't know.
And I go through life, and when something really bad happens, I'm a human, so I question it myself and be like, maybe this is just a normal aspect of life. But then I'm also like, nobody else is going through this but in it. It's really, to me, it's a targeted situation. You have I believe people. If somebody were to tell me they were targeted, I believe you. And I understand, because I've gone through it for pretty much my whole life. And it's very difficult when nobody believes you and they think you're being kind of like, you overreact, and, no, that can't be. Yes, it can be. And it is happening. And it's happening to a lot of us. And we're trying to speak out more about it, because I feel like that is the only way to protect us and myself, is to speak out about it. And that's what I've been told, is to talk about it, because it is dangerous information. Somebody in the chat said I don't show my face because what I'm doing is dangerous. What I'm saying is dangerous. Everything I found is dangerous information. Not saying that other people don't have dangerous information, but I'm breaking into bases. I'm breaking into the handler division to get this information. Of course they're going to try to stop me. Of course. I mean, the last session there was a psychic assassin there. That's serious. That's scary. I had to back off for a little bit, because I'm not a professional. I'm very much an amateur in my opinion. And I've kind of stumbled and rediscovered some of these things that I had been trained in as a child, or that were innate abilities in me. And I'm using it in this way to try to just help the world. And this is my mission. I have to tell people about this and if you know about it, you can battle it back. In my opinion, I feel like, instead of just questioning yourself and questioning the world about, like, why is my life so awful, so terrible? You know why? Because something is important about you. Something you're saying is important. Something you're doing is important. And they want to stop you from doing that. They do want to stop that. And it's just we can't allow it. It's gone on too long, and we have to stop it. And this is the way to stop it. And I did hit, like I said, when I think I've talked about this before, when I did a session and I spoke to that general from the future. And it wasn't just me there. I had 2 other people there with me during that session. So they were also able to experience this, and it was really amazing. And he even said that 12 years in the future, they still have Oblivion in their time. I mean, to me, that was important to know that, what are we doing now? So maybe we can stop that from being in the future if we do something about it now. And this is what I was told to do. I was told to come and tell people about this, to talk about it, to get them encouraged to talk about their stories and bring their testimony to the world. The more people that are speaking up about this, and the more mainstream we can get our information out there and get it out of this, small community where it's just us preaching to each other. We have to get it out to other people, so other people know about it. Other people will be enlightened, because they're not stopping this. They still have gate programs. They're still, recruiting children in gate. To even today, they're still doing it. So it's not stopped. I don't know why. I don't know, understand why people think that it's stopped. It hasn't. They're still recruiting children through the gate program even now. So that's not gone away. and they can say whatever, there's a lot of different reasons for it. That's fine, but it has a history. So would I want my child in the GATE program? No. Without just naturally, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
So
and one thing I wanted to say was one thing I think we need to do was like the person who made that comments, like Drago Reed, he's an experiencer and he's a good friend. I consider him a good friend, and I think he was just like asking that because he was just curious, But like one thing I'd like to see is like us all get along, like in the community, because it's like we all have a mission. Some people are SSP, some people are targeted, some people are MILABs, some people are all the above, and we're all fighting for disclosure. So it doesn't help when we argue, you know what I mean? Because like that we need to, like to get our message across. That's one of the things they want to do. I think that's one of the small goals of Oblivion, right? Is to like separate the community.
yes.
So people
And
don't,
if I get a video or a message in my chat trying to make me take a side for somebody, I'm not going to answer it. I'm not going to be an ally to Oblivion. I'm not going to take a side on that. If it doesn't have something to do with me directly, I really can't do that. If somebody decides they want to send me a video or something, that's not going to happen with me. I'm not going to give Oblivion, the necessary, emotion to continue their mission through me. I just won't do that. And I'm not holding it against anybody else. It's just, that's my personal decision. I can't do that. The smear campaigns that are coming out of Oblivion, it's going to get even worse. I know it. And people need to be aware of that. And it really you have to realize the power of social media, not only the power of sociology, the power of social engineering, social construction, systemic issues that they've made into, social issues. They've done all of this in the name of power, control, and conquest. They have us under control now. We don't even know it sometimes. You don't even know where your ideas come from. You don't know how you get a thought. You probably wouldn't know who you are without social engineering and social construction. You wouldn't know who you would be without that if somebody hadn't taught you to do a certain thing. So it's very difficult to understand. Imagine if and especially with V2K being implemented in other technology, you're getting all these different voices and things that are telling you, and you have to stay very focused in order to understand that there's, you have to be the one to decide, is this me or is this somebody else telling me this? And you
cut out
can.
there.
Of course, I know I was going to cut out. I knew the internet was going to start. As soon as I got on, I knew it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a lag. I can hear it.
Rodika says she doesn't know what Project.
I can hear it now.
Yeah, Rodika says she doesn't know what Project Oblivion is. Do you want to just tell people like that might not know what exactly Project Oblivion is, so they know what we're talking about?
Yeah,
like
it's a project to try to stop the disclosure movement from moving forward, from allowing survivors and experiencers to express their testimony, to give their testimony. It's also going to try to stop the people that are allowing platforms for these people to speak. That's the main focus of Project Oblivion, from what I was told directly from the handler division. And it's I was banned off TikTok myself, so I know that it's real. From the post I was putting, it was all about MK Ultra, every single thing. MK Ultra, and mind control, Project Oblivion, and literally the entire thing was banned with no notice, anything. That just one day I woke up and it said that it was banned permanently. So there's something to it. I don't know why that particular information is more dangerous than others. It shouldn't be. But, it's because I feel like if you know about it, you can do something. You can stay more focused in your mind. You can stay more focused in your life and watching out for the signs and signals and, where things are happening and where, it's going to start impacting your life in general. And I'm seeing like this, it's very frustrating for me to see, especially when I'm talking about Project Oblivion every day, and then to see smear campaigns, being put out, and they're going hard on it. It's going very hard. And I don't want to blame anybody from that, but I think people that are doing that, you should think about what you're doing. Think about, the things that we're being told and we're learning, and then the smear campaigns are coming through. The additional monitoring and control, you know, I hate to say that when people are being, because I've had this happen to me just this week. Somebody was kind of taken as like an Oblivion ally to try to take me down. You know, it's like, and that's how I consider it. I consider them an ally of Oblivion. And maybe it was they're unaware, maybe they're mind controlled, maybe it's V2K. I don't know. I don't know. I would have to, remote view to get into it further to see what the issue is. But I feel like that's something that's going to be even more coming through is these, because people they need to know how powerful it is. All you have to do is make one statement about somebody and their entire life could be destroyed by that. One phrase. One phrase, that's all it takes. One word sometimes is all it takes for it to affect somebody emotionally, physically, financially, their reputation, their career, everything. It sometimes only takes one phrase. And that's how it's become now in our modern world, where you can say one thing and your entire life be destroyed by it. Or somebody make an accusation about you, put it in a video, put it in a chat somewhere, and that already plants a seed in other people's mind and it takes control and spreads out. Just like the handler division said, that they're just like the Hydra and their hands just spread everywhere. And they say it's easy to implement it into our community because they said we're that weak that we just allow one phrase and one word to just let us fall. And I've seen it, and it does. Right now, it does happen like that. There's one word and there's one phrase out there, or somebody had a bad conversation with somebody else, and then there it goes. I mean, it's just out there. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure you experience it when you have shows and then you get a lot of nasty comments and, you're almost rushing. You have to rush to protect, certain people that or your own channel or something like that. It's very difficult. It is very difficult to constantly watch that. You almost have to just let it go and not even look at it at some point, but it's very hard and then think about the person that it's about. If you're just, I've had it happen to me plenty of times, and I've just come to the point where I just got to stop looking at it and just let it go. If they said that, because there's people that have made posts about me saying that I'm a Satanist, saying a Luciferian, Illuminati, an agent. I'm a handler myself, and how do I get? Especially since I can get this information, they say I'm a handler and that I'm spying on them and that I'm, taking, information from them. I'm the one, and it's just some of those things it's very frustrating when you're trying to tell people about this and then you're being accused yourself of being a handler. But that, to me, that is part of this. It's part of Project Oblivion, and they know how powerful the social part of it is. That's why when I was being trained for espionage, that's why they trained us in sociology, because of this, because of how strong it is and how it can be used in various projects, in various measures, in order to control other people and continue with mind control.
Yeah. Yeah. It's are you seeing like new infiltration tactics in the disclosure community, like AI driven psyops or manipulated influencers or anything like that?
Oh my gosh, everything. And it's like I don't know. I don't like to put my personal, feelings into things. I'm just going by, information I've given. But it is real, and it is going to happen, and we're going to have to deal with it. And we got to figure out I feel like we have to figure out a different way to deal with it. Do you understand? I don't know if we're dealing with it correctly, because we're all like rushing, and it's a human behavior to rush to protect yourself, to have an emotional reaction. That's humanity. You will rush to protect yourself. That's just a human in us. We always want to protect ourselves and make sure we're the ones, because that's part of survival, and that's how we were trained for that in MK Ultra and mind control. We're always going to look to my survival. If I feel like I'm being targeted or attacked, I might have like uh, one of my alters come forward and take over, because it's about survival and it's not about me anymore. They have to keep me alive and keep me safe. They'll come forward and take over and make sure that I do. And that'll be for other people too. They'll notice that they might be shifting alters more often if there's something to protect themselves from. And it's going to be a little frustrating, because a lot of us have kind of integrated those alters, and I've had integrated a lot of alters, but in the extreme situation where I feel and they can feel me stressed and my body stressed and my mind stressed, they'll kind of push themselves to the forward. I've had it happen. I've had myself, even as strong as I feel like I am now, I have had one of the alters, and I don't fault them for trying to do this. I feel like they did it in terms of survival to protect me. So I can't say that they were trying to kill me or harm me. It feels like they're trying to protect me, but and it's still me. So it's hard. It's a very kind of complex way to look at things.
Yeah, yeah. And what I was going to ask you was, is Project Oblivion like focused on shifting towards a broader social engineering? Would you say?
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, they already have it. Just like what they're doing now in the community. We're very disjointed. Our community is very disjointed. There's people that just stay to themselves and quiet. Then we have the influencers. Then we have the upcoming influencers. The different podcasters. Everybody has their own following. And everybody has those supporters. So it's very like separate pieces in order. And how are we going to all come together, even though you still can be a human and not like somebody, and they not like you, and they don't like what you're doing. And I mean, I've experienced it myself, and I'm not quite sure. We all have to figure that out, how we're going to deal with this, how we're going to deal with all these different personalities, but at the same time, trying to move forward with this and trying to fight back Project Oblivion so we can make some progress here with our community and getting our information out. And because that, I feel like that's the most important part. If we were able to get our information out to more people, we can awaken more people to the crimes that they've committed against us and are still committing against, humans and children, especially. I really want that to be highlighted.
yeah, yeah, it's a huge thing. Yeah, and do you seen them use like different kinds of mind control and also like astral and energetic attacks?
I feel like it. I feel like they are. I've experienced it myself in terms, and I've seen them. Like I said before, I've walked up behind them to see, and they do it all by computer, which is. And I want to make sure people don't be. There's nothing to be afraid of physically. These are some nerds sitting in a chair behind a computer controlling us. This is not, they're nothing to be afraid of. I want you to feel more like you're more in control and stronger than they have assumed, because they didn't expect us to see them. They want to be seen as this powerful evil overlord type, agency or division. And when I looked at them, they're a bunch of nerds just sitting behind a desk in a computer pressing buttons. They have technology where they can just press a button and something can happen to you, or they can coordinate specific attacks by computer. Can you believe this? By computer. But think about how advanced we are now and how advanced we are going to be in the next 10, 15 years. Everything's going to be technology by then. That's the whole reason for the Olympia group, and for us to maintain and make sure they're taken care of, is because of that amount of technology that's going to be in the future.
But do you think some people are using like occult influences and stuff like that, and like black magic against other people in the community even?
I haven't experienced it myself because I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of entities. I'm not afraid of black magic. I'm not afraid of wizards, warlocks, any of that. Nothing, none of that. A fear makes me afraid,
Yeah,
because I've been able to kind of like infiltrate that other, area where they are, and to know them and to meet them. And to me, it was nothing to be afraid of. And I think other people should, take that experience I've had. And because fear controls us, that's one of the
yeah,
main reasons, and one of the main ways they control us is with fear. And when I let that fear drop away from something like that, that was one less thing they can control me with. And the one less thing they can control you with, if you're not afraid of what's out there and what's in the dark and what's in the unknown, the supernatural, the paranormal, nothing to fear. I'm not afraid of any of it. And I've actually literally allowed things to take over my body and speak through me. And I'm still not afraid of it. So there's something to be said about that.
yeah. I mean, the humans are more to be scared of than the entity, right?
In my opinion, that's was scarier to me than letting an entity speak that's like, a zillion years old, that is looking for fresh flowers and fruit, as a, they want like a sacrifice. They ask for fresh flowers and fruit. I mean, to me, that I don't want to put my personal opinion in it. It's just, that was just my experience. Everybody's going to have their own experience. And if somebody is feeling like they're attacked by black magic. I believe that could be real, and that's why, I don't want to say that that's not a real thing. It possibly is. So, if they feel like that, it is possible that somebody's using black magic. But I just want to say that you're a lot stronger than that, and you can push it back, because I know you can push it back, because when I was an entity myself, all somebody had to do in order to push me back was tell me to get out of their space, get away from me. And I felt like when they said that to me, I felt like it was a fireball to the chest. Now you say it. If you're having a problem with something like that, you say it out loud, and you say it with conviction. Get away from me. Get out of my space. You're not welcome here. And it would be like throwing like a fireball to their chest, because that's how it felt when it happened to me. And it really did push me back. No matter how much I wanted to oppress a certain individual, all they had to do was make a statement, and that's your free will. That's your strength that you've been given. You say, no, get away from me. I don't want that. And it pushed them back. It pushed it back. People are a
Yeah.
lot stronger than they think, from what I've discovered in doing a lot of these sessions and these experiences. We're a lot stronger. And without even bringing religion into it, I'm just saying you as a person are stronger than you know.
Yeah. And do you believe some infiltrators are conscious agents while others might be like unwitting pawns?
Yes. I feel like it's both. I've seen both. And I've experienced both just in myself in the past month or so. Some people I feel like don't really, they might pick up on certain things, but don't really know they're doing it. And then the others probably do know what they're doing. But that's also can be chalked up to human nature. But in our case, it's more than a coincidence that it's happening on the regular to people like us that are out there, especially you, Rob. But as much information as you get out to the world, you can expect to meet these people at some point in your life. And it's
I
just
feel
you
like
go
I'm
through.
being targeted now heavily. Like I just don't
Yeah,
talk
me too.
because like I don't want anybody to. I'm not trying to get people to feel bad for me. Like I'm tough. I mean,
Right.
I've fought my whole life. You know what I mean? So I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, and plus, if I say it, nobody's gonna believe me anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But I mean, I get targeted really bad. Like, um, the thing most people know about is like financially. But I mean, like. I can't prove that. That could have been just an error. I mean, I don't know.
It's kind of a big coincidence that when your shows get targeted.
Yeah, and it
Because
was.
there's people out there, I swear, there's people that are fully nude doing things like that on the internet, but they don't get taken off the internet. But you do. I've seen it myself, because I was banned on TikTok, and there was nude people talking about, inappropriate things, inappropriate language, inappropriate images. They didn't get banned. They have a high, follower count, but I got banned for a little channel that, does 10-second videos on MK Ultra. So it's more than a coincidence when you feel it, in my opinion. You know, People can think what they want if they think we're crazy, but it's more than just a coincidence that you're experiencing this. Why aren't the other podcasters that, are saying inappropriate things being targeted? Why is your channel being targeted? I mean, it's just, to me, it's pretty obvious. They don't want the fact that you're getting so much information out to people. They don't want that. They even told me that directly. They can't have that anymore. The handler literally said, we cannot allow this anymore. We have this project. It's been given the green light in order to stop all of you. It's just, we can't do this anymore, because the more rational and the more information that gets out to the world, and I really do feel like our information is becoming more rational. I really do feel like that, and I really feel like it's getting better reception from the world in general. I really feel like we're on the verge of probably going a bit more mainstream, and that's going to be a danger to the movement, a danger to all of us. The more mainstream we go, because then, who knows how long before, what if this whole thing broke open and they really had to finally admit that, this is real. MK Ultra is real, beyond what they had disclosed, the very small pieces they disclosed. What would happen if they, the SSP is real, all this, it's going to be huge. It's going to be
Yeah,
very huge. They're
they're
trying
having
to avoid that.
aliens are real. They don't want to admit that like UFOs are real. And
Yeah.
they're still debating in the government whether UFOs are real, which is crazy to me. You know what I mean?
They told me that the SSP and MK Ultra stuff is way more dangerous than anything about an alien. I
Yeah,
don't know why. That's what they said. I don't know why they say that.
I know why
I
because because of the free energy, because the UFOs have anti-grav tech, which is free energy. That's probably part of it. And then the other part would be the healing properties. Like they probably have a lot of healing stuff in the SSP that they can give to the main public that like they don't want to do. So it's like free energy, healing. Like that's less control on the main populace if that would come out. Less.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Less
what
control.
are they going to do when all that comes out, but to me they said the threat wasn't in alien disclosure, it was in SSP and MK Ultra disclosure, with the control measures that they're taking against us is the major threat to them. So is what they told me. That's a major threat. And the people that are more in that area talking about that are going to be extremely targeted, because you know they could I don't even know what could happen if it came out that they had to admit that that was real. I can't even imagine how big it would be, and what it would do to the world if they really did know, even if it was a small admission of some type of guilt on their part. I'm not quite sure how that would go.
Yeah. Like it would be huge, because then they would have to admit that they've been taking people and using people against their will to to do things bidding for the government, basically.
And which I there is a possibility that things could be leaked, because I know that there are documents with a lot of people's names and signatures on it from various programs, because I saw them myself. I not only remote viewed it, but I worked in those agencies when I was in the corporate office. So I know that people sign documents and they are still there. They hire an outside, like they keep like a contracted agency outside of what they do in order to maintain their human resources documents and their corporate documents, things like that. They don't keep it on their site, on site for them, because that to them is like a bigger risk, but they have it, contracted out, outsource it in a way. So
Yeah.
they feel like that keeps it, you know, safe from us. But it doesn't, because I've been able to see some of the stuff. I've been able to read some of the language on some of the documents, some of the legal language. And they're very smart. They say that some of this legal language is going to tie us up even if we did try to do something in court. They say the legal language that's in the documents would tie us up forever, because they worded it in a certain way that will hold up in all courts, saying that we agreed to this, we consented, or somebody else consented for us to be experimented on, and things like that. That's what they say. It could be all lies. I'm not quite sure, but that's what they've told me.
I mean, for the people that don't know your story, like you worked as like an administrator on Mars, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you weren't a super soldier. You actually worked in like administrative,
Yeah,
right?
I wasn't. Yeah, that's interesting, because I wasn't in it all. Yeah, I wasn't super soldiering in a big, huge military group. I was kind of like working for the man in like the corporate sector. So that's pretty much, and I do remember a lot from it. That's why I worked for a general. His name was Asher. So General Asher, and I remember his office. He had all these, he had clear windows around his entire office, and my office was kind of like kitty corner to him. But anything I did was, approved by him. Any recommendations I made always went up to him first. And and I remember the base that I was on called McCreary. And I remember it was in the South Canal region of the planet. It was right near a loading dock that came out there where they did incoming ships. And I ended up doing like a small job where I was signing off on paperwork, because I had gotten in trouble at my job, the corporate job. I wasn't doing as well as I could have been. And they ended up demoting me to that.
Wow. Wow. How long do you think you spent there on Mars? Like that you can remember?
It was about 10 years.
Wow. So you think you did a full 20 and back or something
Yeah.
like?
Yeah. But and it's very, to me, I get frustrated because I can't get a linear timeline. And I want to recommend to everybody, if you can't I know some people recommend a linear timeline, but if you can't, don't drive yourself crazy trying to get it. Sometimes that's just the way your memory works. You might not get a linear timeline, but that doesn't, take away from your experience. You go with what you can get, like same as I did. My story goes back and forth, up and down. There's no linear timeline to it, in my opinion. And I even write in my books that way. And I've even said that I write it the way I experienced it, back and forth. There was no linear timeline where, oh, I did this and I did this. It wasn't like that for me. Other people maybe have had it like that. I just haven't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And if anybody has any questions for Olivia, put them in the chat now, and we'll get to them. You know, and yeah, and let me see here. Do you think do you think a lot of people are still being used in the projects? Like I know a lot of people still believe they're like active super soldiers and stuff like that. So it seems like it hasn't stopped at all. Like it's still going on, and people are still being used and. In this life, and then maybe in an alternate timeline, or however this is operating, you know.
This was really interesting. So about 2022, and this was before I was doing a lot of podcasts and everything. I think 2022, like around like right when COVID was going out, kind of thing. I ended up having an experience where a mercenary group came to me, and they offered me a certain amount of money if I would work for them and train new recruits. They said that they aren't having the same outcomes as they used to, because they're not using the same process. They're using more chemical based mind control rather than trauma based mind control. They said they're not having the same outcome, and they want people that were you know used with trauma based mind control to train some of the newer recruits. Obviously, I said no. But what was interesting, I just had a show, and in the comments, one person was in there in the comment section saying that in 2022 he had been offered a specific amount of money to be a handler. It was the same exact amount of money I was offered. So that kind of blew my mind, and it was the same year, everything. I was like, holy smokes. I was like, so that kind of just validated for me, that they really were reaching out to prior assets to try to get them to take money, for certain things. So that's
Wow.
something to look out for. I say just say no, but it's not my decision if you want to do that. But I said I say just say no, because to me this group can't be trusted. I've never trusted them. I never will. So some people, and I don't want to put any ideas in people's heads. This group, some people talk very well about this mercenary group, and they say they're working to save children and all that. I never experienced that. I experienced the opposite when I worked for them. They actually let my colleagues harm me, and without repercussion. And I'll never trust them. And they always used me under threat of harm. And I can't ever trust them.
This is a good question from Anchor Haven. She just wants to know, like, is there a specific thing about Mars that you recall as to what the note was definitely on Mars, or is there something that made you think that, like, is there something that like how do I want to say this that I can expand on her question? Like, is there something that really made it stand out to you that it was Mars, or like, you know what I mean?
Ships, um, paperwork. I was
Probably.
under Mars Defense Force #1.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
You were.
actually know my service number and division. That was some of the first information I got. My number is 6349 Division Mariner. So and that's under Mars Defense Force. So I knew my service number and my division. That was some of the first information I ever got a conscious recall of as part of my service record. I was in Scout class, entry level, and I was transferred to enemy engagement processes. And my asset name is Intelligence Scribe. Every different asset has a different code what you're categorized as, and mine was Intelligence Scribe. And I'm not quite sure what that means, but I can kind of take a guess in terms of like espionage and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was trained in something called linguistics and retrieval. And there's a specific mission I did once that was called computer pursuit acclamation retrieval. And this is crazy that I can remember all this. This is crazy because it's very difficult to get information straight from your records and to have it kind of flow. It's because some of these words, it's hard to know what they mean, but, I kind of take it and just kind of, try to figure it out.
Yeah, this is a really good question from Emma the Cat and Friends. She says, "Do you think it's good to send prayers, positive energies to clones a person might have to kind of help them heal or escape?"
Oh man, this is so sad. I want to tell the story because it was me and Misha. We found, and I really didn't have a lot of conscious recall of clones, but I did have I do have a specific memory of this, and it's a memory. It wasn't really a session. It was a memory of this part of me, and it was part mechanical in a way. And so they're doing an experiment and they take a piece of me somehow. I don't know if it's a brain or some type of tissue to activate this thing. And this thing is huge. I mean, she's like, I don't know, 6'4" or something. I'm very petite, but she was like really tall. And what they did is there was this, I'm not quite sure where this planet was, but they had a base there. And on this base, I remember it was dark all the time. And, they had this barbed wire fence around it. And it was a very small base. And then, there was red lights at the top to light the base up. And inside the base, they left her there. They were doing some type of social experiment with her to see how she could, you know, interact with the other soldiers. But something was wrong with these soldiers. I remember seeing them sitting all around, and they were shooting up something with some kind of green liquid. And it looks like they were all just kind of like addicts or something. It was really weird. The thing is, though, something really got I don't know, damaged inside of her. And from what I could feel from her, it was because, this thing started to become more sentient that they had expected. And she started to have emotion. And she didn't know what emotion was. So it almost gave her kind of like a mental break to have emotion. And I remember she ran away from the base. And she also didn't, these gentlemen didn't have, that were living on the base, didn't have I don't know, what do you call it? Good intentions while they interacted with her. I don't know why, but that's just what I experienced. And I remember she ran from the base. I could see her running on top of the building and just running out. And there was like way past where there was the base, there was a little bit of like foliage, and she's in there still. And I can feel her. And during this one session, she asked me to end her. And I can't help her. I don't know where she is. And she's like, just, I want, she's like, I can't take, she's pretty much saying she couldn't take living like that anymore if I could end her. And I didn't know how to.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's very
That's
sad though. If you were able to ever like connect to something like that, I felt her pain. I felt her anguish and, her sadness, and she felt so alone and scared, and, and all from emotion, experiencing an emotion that she didn't know what it was, broke her and exploded like something in her.
wow, that's crazy. That's insane. Like that's wow. I was seeing if there was any other cool questions. Let me see here. Anchor Haven wants to know about area. If you remember anything about Area 51, or no, not Area 51, Area 58 and 81. I guess they're Mars bases. She says they're in her records from the ACIO. Like, did you? I mean, but did you stay pretty much like stationary to where you were
Yeah.
when you were there on
Yes.
Mars?
Yes, you're not allowed to. For specifically me, they didn't want me interacting with other people. They didn't want me out there because they thought that affected my abilities. And it did. The more I would interact with other people, the more things would happen, you know. So they didn't want that. So I didn't get a chance.
Your job was to like process SSP recruits. Like you knew what
Yeah.
everybody was doing, right?
Yeah, that was my job. And also I was tasked with trying to figure out with, because I have like a mild telepathy when I was there, to figure out if somebody that came to us, because, you know, before like the 90s, everybody was kind of like forced. And I saw when I got into, late 90s, early 2000s on Mars, a lot of the recruits that were coming into where I was seeing them, voluntary recruits. They're coming straight out of our military, and they're telling people that they're going overseas and things, and actually they're doing short tours on Mars. And when they get there, they're super excited. They think that it's going to be like Starship Troopers, and that, they're fighting aliens, and they saw a lot of TV. And when they get there, it's not like that. I need people to work like in agriculture. I need people to work in the waste treatment center. There's a lot of different divisions we needed help in, and they weren't going to be usually fighting aliens, because if somebody were to be taken in as a super soldier, they would go to something called special sector. And if I felt like they needed to be in special sector, I would have to do a referral out for them to go somewhere else, because we didn't handle like the super soldier program in the division I was in, but somebody else did.
Yeah, that's interesting. Kitsalaya wants to know: do you know anything about the Galactic Federation, or do you think they're real?
I don't know. I've never met them. I don't know much about them at all. I don't, and I wouldn't want to speculate too much, but that would be I would love to like find out. Like I would love to speak to them and you know talk to them and see kind of what they're about. With my abilities, that would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see here. Let me see what other questions I had. Um, uh, have
Somebody
you?
asked about what age the recruits were that I was seeing. Most of them that came to the office looked like young 20s, like 23, 24, that kind of age, young 20s. But then a lot of people there looked younger than what they are. It's very difficult, and I don't know why. I don't know if it has something to do with the atmosphere, technology. I wasn't privy to that information, or I haven't gotten that information quite yet. I haven't received it quite yet.
This is a good one. Could Project Oblivion be larger part of a larger timeline war where information itself is being weaponized to alter the collective reality?
Anything's possible. I'm going by what I was told. Anything's possible, though. I wouldn't want to say somebody to not believe that if that's what they feel. Anything's possible. Um, I actually this is I mean, I had other witnesses to what was happening when we talked to the general about this. Actually, Brian was there. It was me, Brian, and Misha. So he was able to witness
Brian
something.
Singing? Brian T.
Yeah,
Singing?
he was able to witness something very amazing, to be able to talk to a general from the future, to give us a mission. He said to come back here, build the network, maintain the network, and protect the Olympia group. That's it. That is the main thing to do. And that's why I always preach it when I come on and make sure we're building our network, maintain. I know it's hard because we're all individuals, we're all human still. It's going to be difficult with all of us different personalities, but there's got to be some way for us all to pull together. And I understand there's going to be some infiltration, and that we might have to kind of protect ourselves from. That's not wrong to do that. I don't want people to think it's wrong to protect yourself if you're being harmed by somebody in the community. I wouldn't say that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's a lot of different personalities, no matter who it is, and we got to figure out a way. I can be harsh on some days. Other people can be harsh on some days. We just all have to figure out how we can build the network together and get more information out.
And what do you think that, I mean, do you think like the Olympia group will eventually rise up? Do you see like them?
Absolutely, absolutely. I have faith in them so much, and I mean, obviously, I do worry about them because the people that are in charge, and I always say people that are in charge because no one really knows. I've never met anybody that actually knows who's at the top, but they say, they know who they are. So if somebody has a child in their life, that's you feel is being targeted, think about that. Why would a child be targeted? You know, because they might be part of the Olympia group. This is an important group that came here as volunteers at this specific time because 10 to 15 years in the future, the revolution needs a little bit help, because otherwise we're in a bad spot from what I was told. I'm not saying that's the truth. And when we did the session, we saw that it was about a we looked at the timeline, percentage, and we got about a 38% chance that timeline is gonna happen. And it's not too high of a percentage, but it's high enough for us to try to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and yeah, and I was going to say, how important would you say community resilience is right now?
Oh my
I know
gosh.
we touched on that, but I think it's like it's everything, right? We need to stay strong, and we need to try to stay together, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so important. It's so important. And you know, I really don't, I'm not super social butterfly myself, and that part of that could be mind control, part of it could be the way I was trained too, that, you know, especially the way I was trained, I was always solitary. I was always alone. I always did missions alone. I rarely ever did missions with other people. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to get out there, and be kind of like that front person. I don't feel like um who I am and, my name and everything is the important thing. I don't feel like that's important. And I feel like the information is what the most important thing is. I'm not out to be an influencer or anything like that. My mission is to get this information out to people, and they can do with it what they want. At some point maybe it'll save somebody. Maybe it'll help somebody, find their own memories, help somebody get past, what's going on with them, something like that.
And then Rocky Mountain Skywatcher wants to know: do you think there's a possibility that a lot of the Olympia group are autistic? He is, or his or her quote was: do you think a lot of them are autistic to stay safe until the time to rise together?
No, I don't think all of them are autistic. I actually know one of them right now, so I don't think they're all autistic. It's a very diverse group of children, very diverse, and they're about, I don't know, like 10 to 19 years old right now. So in the next 10 years, they're going to be right around that age, early 20s, early 30s, that they're going to be able to take on the mission. We're all getting a little bit older, and we have to stop pretending that we're young. So some
Yeah, I
of
know.
us right now that are experiencers, we got to stop pretending that we can like do be that group that's there. We're setting this up for them. This is a really important thing, because I've already been told by the handler, I'm not going to be the one to take the reins on this. It's going to be the next group, and that's the Olympia group and other children. That's what we're setting up and making sure they stay safe.
Yeah. Drago Reed has a question. He says, "Do you know anything about the Oblivion SEAL site Alpha under the Mariana Trench?"
I've never heard of that. I
Okay.
could try to look into it, but I've never heard of that. I definitely want to start look there's so much to look into. It's, my main focus usually is secret information, information that's hidden from us in, forms and documents, because I think it's so important, to see that firsthand, and what they're writing down and what we're consenting to. You
Look,
pretty much, I've seen the documents that people sign before they leave Mars Defense Force, because that's where I was. So I can't speak to Nakwafen or Solar Warden, but in Mars Defense Force, we called it retirement. And when somebody was ready for retirement, I would have them sign a ton of forms, and nobody looked at it. Nobody looked at the forms. They just signed, because that's the culture. You don't ask questions, you just do. If somebody says sign the forms, and on those forms, whoever was in Mars Defense Force, you agreed to be controlled and monitored for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you agreed to be terminated, and terminated doesn't mean fired. So
yeah,
you agreed to that. You signed for it. You signed before you left, saying that. It's crazy
but
that, and we think, oh, it's just it's not a real document. For them, it's real, and they use that against us.
yeah. What I wanted to tell Drago was, if he's listening still, that Renetta Jones believed there was something big under the Mariana Trench. Like she said in that video I did with her about the galactic slave trade, she believed that a lot of people's implants were reporting to deep space, and she believed that the implants were also reporting. Now, she said this went back to the FCC. Like the FCC somehow controls all this, but they were also going to the Mariana Trench, whatever's there, which is insane, because like, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I don't. It's something's there, I don't
Yeah,
know. And
I'm not quite sure.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I'm not quite sure about that, but there's so much to discover, and there's so much I still look for. I've kind of pulled back a little bit, because this is really interesting. The very last session I did, me and Misha did together, and what I found, and this is strange, I was under trance, very deep trance, and I was remote viewing, and I remote viewed, and I saw another gentleman doing the same thing I was doing. He was sitting in like a chair, and I knew he was under trance because we always cover our eyes, and he had sunglasses on, and he had his head back. He had kind of like, he looked like he was like in his early 30s, and he kind of had like a big, amount of curly hair on the top. And I he what was weird, if he was from Russia, and I don't know what Russia would have interest in me and what I'm doing and what I'm remote viewing. And I found out that he's from a group called the Blessed Guard, and they actually were created during the time of Stalin. That's what I was told. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I was told. It was really interesting.
yeah, that is.
So there's a couple of different groups that kind of have figured out that I can go a little bit farther than they probably expected. And now they're trying to kind of keep an eye on me to see what I'm seeing or stop me. And one of them tried to stop me, but then this one, looks like he was more just like observing. And he asked me, how did I figure out how to do this? And I just said, I don't know, because I don't know. Because I said, I don't know. That, I was just I'm not a professional, I'm just a girl. And, I can't remember everything. I don't have all the answers. I do my best to help people with what I'm doing. So I might not know everything, especially about my own story. I'm still discovering my story. I don't have full recall. I don't know anybody that has 100% recall. Even people without mind control don't have 100% recall. So that's not possible. I have an alter that has a photographic memory, but that's locked away. I would have to get under trance to get information from that vault. So it's really
Yeah,
interesting, and I keep trying. I just keep trying. That's all I can do.
yeah, yeah. But this was fascinating. This really was. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we go? And yeah, this was amazing.
Just for, let's just keep going and keep talking about experiences, and hopefully people get motivated to share their own experiences and help awaken the world, because I feel like we can awaken the world together rather than trying to constantly question each other and question each other's experiences, and we can try to support each other. I support your show and all the people that you have on here, and hopefully you can get more to bring out their stories and their testimonies. And I think the more people we add to the movement, the better. And for people to really be able to, share and motivate somebody else, and, support other up and coming younger people, especially the Olympia group. I feel like we even discussed this under trance. How can we get them to know who they are, or to see? And we were told that just planting a seed, by you putting this like on YouTube and things where kids are, their spaces where they're looking at reels and things like that. That's what I was told. They said to you know put it out there for them. You don't have to go to them directly, search them out. They can see it if they can find it, and maybe they'll see this video and say, wow, maybe, am I one of those people? And, maybe can stay on their mission and protect themselves somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Wow. Yeah, and I put your Substack up here, and is that where you want people to follow you at mostly?
Whatever they want. It's on Substack, it's on Medium, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. I got banned from TikTok, but I had a backup account on there, but I try not to put too much into it because it's probably just going to get banned again, because they don't, for some, I don't know why TikTok is so, serious about that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But yeah, they're real weird. Yeah, well, yeah, guys, I'll be live again at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, and I have Brian Minnick on. He's going to talk about Montauk, and that's
Oh yeah, everybody watch that. He's great. He's got an amazing book out. So we need information like his to get out into the community.
yeah, he's been going there since he was a kid. I found out.
Yeah.
Coley knows him, the girl I'm doing the show with. We've been kind of like tag teaming, doing some shows together, and we're gonna have him on at 8. And I mean, when I started looking into it, it was amazing because he's been going to
Yeah.
Montauk since he was a kid, and like he's been researching it. So I have a feeling that like it'll be a really cool show. I'm surprised I haven't had him on already.
Oh, it's good. He's got some great information. It'll help us, validate our information, in my opinion. The way he does things, I think it's going to help validate our information in the future. So everybody check it out later.
Yeah, that's 8 p.m. Eastern, guys. And yeah, and follow Olivia on Substack. And thank you, everybody. And I'll
Thank you
see you
so
guys
much
all.
for having me, everybody. I hope to talk to everyone soon again.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.